we see this as a journey, and we see something like AD3 as a stopping point on that journey. It's a bit like if you imagine going up a hill. You know, it's quite a long way, but what you're doing is saying, okay, I've got to get all the way there, so I'm going to start here, and this is the ground, you know, and I'm going to make my way up. And then after a little time, you want to stop and take stock and review where you've come from, what you've learned, and then you want to sort of take stock to energize yourself to go forward. And that's how we see this. And so it's not a conference as such, but in concrete terms, what we're looking for are ideas. Where do we go? What do we do in the next short term to take us forward? The broad goal, the broad issue is how we, as the African diaspora, how can we maximize that contribution to Africa's development? We're already doing a lot, as you've heard throughout the day. Huge amounts of transfers and things going on. But are we being as strategic as we can be? Are we having the impact that we could have? Are we getting the biggest bang, as it were, for whatever buck, be it money or be it knowledge or be it ideas that we have?
This was one of the areas that came out in the pre-ADD Day survey that people had concerns and issues with, and that was the whole area surrounding applications and their CVs. After all your efforts to get your campaign on track, to identify your skills, to look at how these skills are going to match the organization, don't spoil it all by a poor CV and a poor cover letter and poor presentation. This is going to be what is going to attract the attention of that employer at the end of the day. And it's going to be essential to get it right if you want to get yourself noticed in the right way.
Of African organizations that will be delivering on the ideas that they are seeking funding for. So invariably you have very, very high UK costs. An application of say £300,000 would have up to about 150,000 for staff costs in the UK and computers and all sorts of things. In the past, we would have applications on say to do with women, focusing mainly on income generating activities, without looking at the empowerment of women, the power dynamics between men and women, and things like that. So we tend to find that there are a lot of applications that just focus on meeting basic needs, or people are applying just to build hospitals or clinics without reference to influencing governments.
The number of messages from the report itself, we got that youth want to be involved in Africa's development. They are interested, they identify strongly with Africa, but they don't have the mechanisms. I think what we're trying to do today is to see whether we can move one step further. We're developing structures, not just for youth, across the whole range. But obviously those structures, once they're developed, will take on board the concerns of the youth. I think that's, for us, is the most important thing today, is, can we come up with practical outcomes that we can develop structures for, to move forward, so that we have, tangible achievements, and not just talk.
The focus on young Africans for this report with the theme, Shaping Africa's Future, do young Africans in the diaspora share the dreams of the NEPAD or the African Union? The research was basically about exploring the dreams and aspirations of young Africans in the diaspora and their implications. It was also about comparing and contrasting their own vision with those of the leading Pan-African institutions, the AU, NEPAD, which is New Partnership for African Development, as well as the Conference on Security, Stability, Development and Cooperation in Africa, which is another program. And it was also about making practical recommendations on how young Africans in the diaspora can be more involved in Africa's development. What did we do and how did we do it? What we did was to combine a literature review with interviews and a survey. The literature review was on the AU, NEPAD and the CSSDCA. The interviews conducted were with, firstly with a historian, Dr. Hakim Adi, who brought out the historical importance of Africans in the diaspora. We also conducted interviews with key AU, NEPAD and CSSDCA officials, as well as 3 case studies that were significant for understanding the trends and nature of current engagements with the AU and its associated programs. We targeted an age range of young Africans between the ages of 18 to 30 who were already connected to Africa. And what the questionnaire did was to explore the level of development awareness of young Africans, their emotional and practical involvement with Africa, their level of awareness of AU structures. Altogether, 157 questionnaires were returned, and out of that, we used 140 of them, which were usable. The two focus group studies that followed the questionnaires were basically to deepen an understanding of the implications and also to enable the report to identify key actors and make practical recommendations in relation to young Africans and their involvement in Africa's development.
I mean, the message actually has come really from young people themselves, young Africans. We didn't have a message as such because it was a process of involving them, but what's come out clearly is the importance of them getting together, organizing, having a collective voice really. If they, as they do want to be involved in Africa's development and to have input, then the key thing really is for them to get organized. But there's enormous resource and talent there. I mean, what I suppose the message that we as Africa 21 and Afford can say is we're here. If there's anything we can do to help and facilitate the process of your enhancing what you're doing for Africa, then we're here ready and waiting.
Due to stop now.
Africa, I think, has presented in this program. Maybe it's just the word.
In that document, when they refer to the brain drain, they're actually talking about the finished products out there, not the developing youth, who can now be part and parcel of the development process in Africa. So I think, if anything at all, if we're ever going to transform brain drain into brain gain, we have to create an enabling environment on the continent that now allows people to be able to come back and implement their skills.
I actually have a problem with the concept of brain drain. Maybe it's just the word, because I actually went to school in Ghana for a while, and I mean, although I like to think I'm quite intelligent, I don't think I'm more intelligent than a lot of my friends who are in university in Ghana. So maybe the actual concept has to be changed around, and we have to be a bit more radical in the way we think about things, in the way we engage with young people like me living here, and definitely young people who are actually living in Africa, because they, I believe, know best what they need for Africa. Not someone like me who's been away for 7 years, suddenly coming back.
Even then we have to go to the roots of the problem, which will be things that you don't think of, like overpopulation.